So when
Okay.
Here, someone starts asking a question, you can go the answer. There's alle tasches zullen Muslim nog shit.
Okay.
And then he gets lost. Circle around again.
Yeah.
We can circle around now. Don't have a price over here, please.
Wat heet?
Cool. Weet je?
Hilchos Ishus, yeah? Perek Yud.
380.
380?
Yeah.
380. Page 380 if you're using the large,
380.
the one volume Bible version.
Question.
Oh, we probably haven't started.
There's no shir today at 8 o'clock, right?
No.
So can we finish up that?
After we finish,
Oh,
after we
yeah.
finish it.
That we start on Sunday.
We could, yeah. We could. I don't mind doing it. If you want to hear I recorded it already. It's on the WhatsApp, but on the Rambam WhatsApp. Fine. Yeah, we could do that. Good. Okay. Good. Sorry. Hilchos Ishus Perek Asiri Perek Yud Halacha Aleph. So until now we spoke about Kedushin or Erisin, as we said. Now we're going to talk about Nisuyin, or Chuppah as it's called sometimes. Halacha Aleph Harusa, a woman who is Mekudeshes, Asur L'Bayla B'Divasefim, B'Derabbanan, she's not allowed to live with her husband. They cannot sleep together. They cannot live together. Excuse me. So Kol Zman Shebesavia, as long as she's in her father's house. In other words, before the Nisuyin. So Minat Torah, she's not an Erva. So Minat Torah, and she's not a Pnuya. They're allowed to be together. But the Chum asked it because it's not appropriate. If someone has relations with his Arusa before she's under Suah, then he gets rabbinic strife. And he gets a Makas D'Rabbanan. Now, she's not under Suya because he didn't marry L'Shem Nisuyin. He didn't live with her L'Shem Nisuyin. They just spent the night together. Even if he's Mekadesh or Rabbi the first time, which is not allowed a separate Isna D'Rabbanan. Also, Lo Valeh Pam Shenis, Bia Shnia. No, Chum aser to Mekash Bia. We said that in the previous pair. There's Kesef, Shtar, and Bia. Chum said only if you use Kesef and Shtar. So even if he's Mekadesh the Bia, still you don't say, oh, he did it already, so it's not important. That's not true. Also, Bia Shnia, she's not allowed to have relations with him a second time while she's living in the father's house. Meaning, if she lives in her own apartment, she follows in China. The point is that she's not in the Suya, she's not married. And in fact, even if she's an orphan, even if the father passed away, it's still not a get until he brings her into his house, into his literally house, right, or space that's his. And he's biyachad with her. He secluded himself with her and separates her for himself. The yichud ze'anika and the knis l'chuppah. This yichud called knis l'chuppah. Bring her into the chuppah. That's why the chassan, it's important. He pays rent money for the yichud room. It has to be his room, so the nisuyin should be in the nisuyin. Yeah. Does it have to have Eidim? So there's a Tesis Hazak in Kedushin that says, yeah, that the Nisuyin has to have witnesses. That's the marker for Eidus. Eidin Nisuyin is that Tesis Hazakin. I remember learning Kedushin, B'Shalav Kavsi told us this, that he asked him, B'Shalav Kavsi asked him, Moshe Feinstein. Like he pretended he didn't know. What's the marker for Eidin Nisuyin? And the Moshe he didn't know. This is the marker. It's a Tesis.
So where's the marker?
It's a Tesis Hazakin. It's one of the Rishonim on the Kedushin. But the point is that this going into the this going into the yichud room, this going into a secluded place, and that's his, and for the sake of marriage, that is called knis l'chuppah. It's called nisuyin. That's what we call nisuyin, which literally means marriage. If someone has relations with his mekudeshes for the sake of nisuyin after he's mekadesher, and the chayr has to be in a secluded place. If it's in the middle of the highway, it doesn't count, I think. Once he has the first stage of the relations, immediately he acquires her, she's in the suya. At that moment, she's in the suya. So, for example, she's his wife for all matters. Until that moment, let's say he's a kohen and she dies, he can't be matan himself for the levaya. Once he has relations with her, the very first stage of the relations, which is as an nisuyin, correct? At that moment, she's his wife for all matters, 100%. Base. Once the Arusa goes into the chuppah, and now she's in the Siyari, now he's allowed to have relations whenever he wants. She's his wife completely for all purposes, all matters. Once she goes to the chuppah, she calls it the Suah, even though they didn't have relations yet. Once they go into that space and they stay there the required amount of time, which is the amount of time it's shaykh to have bia, which is minimum of between 4 and 9 minutes basically. But that she's in the Siyah. Who provided Shatia Rila Bila? 1 second, we have to finish halacha, but that provided with the finish halacha, remember? But who should hear really be this seclusion has to happen when Hapidin, he's allowed to have relations with her. If she wasn't nida, if he went into the chuppah room, he brought him into his apartment and his house, he was miyak with her, like Gamar and Nesuyin, then the Nesuyin is not finished, she's still good to Narusa, halacha according to the Rambam, and therefore the Nesuyin has to be in a time when she's allowed to have relations with him.
You asked Kasha, you said that once she's in the room and the yichud, that she needs a get, and even though
she needs to get from kedushin already.
Okay.
But the question is, if while they're walking from the chuppah to the yichud room, the kala has a heart attack and dies, can the chassan be, if he's a kohen, become tamei for the levaya? No. But after the yichud room, after 4 minutes pass, the answer is yes. That's such a morbid example. I can't think of anything else. Anyway, but the point is,
when the Rambam says the word chuppah, he doesn't mean the canopy; he means the room.
No, the chuppah we call the chuppah the canopy is. I don't know if
What's
didn't.
Because when he says chuppah, it throws you off.
No. So that's what we borrowed the term chuppah for this shmat that we hold over the chassan kala. It's applicable. I don't think it has any halachic status as far as I know.
So chuppah pi halacha means the room, the yichud room.
Going in together.
What we call the yichud room, yeah. But back then there was no yichud room. Back in kedushin, a year later, the shluchim and the father walked her with a violin guy playing in to the chassan's house, and they closed the door, and the chayr, according to most people, 2 Eidim stood there for 4 minutes. That was it. Then she's married.
Right.
That's the suyin.
The only difference today is that they're going into the room, but there's nothing happening in the room.
Because they're not going to go to the chassan's apartment, then come back to the chassan hall. You meant the yichud room. It's practical.
But the Eidim under the chuppah witnessing the
That's kedushin.
Right.
And then they also go to yichud. They also go to the yichud.
Do you say Eidim?
No, you don't. You don't.
They
you
do?
not-
Fine.
you not-
Oh yeah, right. I always want to say kedushin, but you don't have to. You don't have to. Oh yeah.
They usually do.
Yeah, they do, but.
To actually not do it, because in case it's chuppahs nida, you should know. So I used to play
Okay,
around
so hang on a second. So that's important. We just said.
Huh?
They can still go into the yichud room
Yeah,
together.
but
Okay, no, but it's not. No, right? Why? Because if it's the same, how are they gonna know it's chuppah? How are they gonna know it's?
The problem is giving
Okay.
the ksuba.
Good. Okay, I
Giving the ksuba the problem.
right. Okay, good. See, hand their hand. I feel okay. So again, according to the Rambam, if when they go to the yichud room, if it's a chuppah nida, she's not married. B'chlal. The halacha, the Ashkenazi poskim don't say that. The halacha, we say that we were semach on those who hold she can become a suah, and we rely on that. So even the Rambam is going to say later that if
According to the Rambam, they have to go through that.
No.
according to the Rambam, if the chuppah nida, the yichud room is nothing. She's not a masua because she has. According to the Rambam. Gimel. Now, this is one of the mitzvahs. Chazal made brachas where you have to make the bracha. The brichas chasanim. We learned about the brichas kedushin, right? Now there's the bracha the chassan has to make in the house of the chassan. In other words, in the chuppah or the yichud room, whatever it is, before the nesuyin. Now we do it outside of the chuppah, and they walk to the yichud room right away. It shouldn't be take pictures in between. By the velt, they hold hands to make that the hold hands. Hold hands. Like I have sick, like you're having in mind, kaviyach. I have to between the bracha and actually yichud. Yeah.
The husband walks in with the kala into the simcha hall. Yeah.
No, before the chuppah.
No, after.
Yeah.
After the yichud room.
Oh, I didn't press play.
He's holding her hand.
Yeah.
And he walks into her side of the mechil place, holding her hand, and then he sits her down.
Yeah, the same thing coming out of the
Interesting.
chuppah. The same thing coming out.
Okay.
Of the
Oh, yeah. After yichud room, you mean?
Yeah.
It's a sign. Okay. What's the
Yeah,
purpose?
all the Chassidim should do that.
Yeah.
Why? After yichud room? Good. Okay.
That's all he's saying to see.
Right.
What about
If they don't do chuppahs nida.
Believe it.
Hello, if they don't do chuppahs nida.
Don't do it.
They delay it. Well, they do birth control, no?
Everybody to have a pill to make it.
Really?
1 second. Okay, sorry. No. I wasn't pressing play. I wanted to make sure that it was. Okay, hang on a second. Sorry. 1 second. I apologize. Give me 1 second over here. Okay, ready to go right there? Okay, so he has to make the bracha of the wedding mitzvah, the bracha of the chassanim, the beis chassan in the house of the chassan before the nisuyin. So, in other words, basically back then it seems like everyone would come inside the house They did bracha, then everyone would leave. That's what they would do. Okay. The hein sheish brachas, it's 6 brachas. These are the 6 brachas. Baruch atah Hashem, everything is created for His glory. I think as I recall, the first this is to show that all the guests are coming to honor the Chazan Kala. Really, everything's doing to honor Hashem. So, all for the Hashem's sake, that's how we start off. Okay, Baruch atah Hashem, Adam, who created Adam, refers to Adam Rishon, who was the first Chazan. Baruch atah Hashem, He created man in His image, but tell him to an image that reflects His likeness. Basically, men would be on the ad, and He established from him or prepared from him a structure which lasts forever. Which refers to Chava, who came from Adam, from whom He could procreate the Adam Vod. Baruch atah Hashem, Adam, but thank Hashem creating Adam Rishon and mankind. Sayis Tasis, next bracha is. This is a longer bracha. This is a longer bracha. The next bracha doesn't have to start Baruch atah Hashem. The first ones are short, so each one's Baruch atah Hashem. Sayis Tasis, Sagal HaKara. Rejoice and be happy. The barren one, the barren one is Yerushalayim over here, and their children gather into her with simcha, because the ultimate chasana is when the Yidden are reunited with Hashem. Baruch atah Hashem, who makes Tzir happy with her children, who will unite with her in Yerushalayim. Mashiach comes. Because it's a hemshich to the previous bracha, like you have like long bracha. What? Yeah, these are all 6 brachas for hemshich. So the short ones, each one starts Baruch atah Hashem. No, so Baruch atah Hashem, like the Adam, is not considered a short bracha. That's when the next one starts Baruch atah Hashem as well.
Because it has starts with Baruch and ends with Baruch. That's why it's not considered a short bracha. But not because it's physically short.
No. The very first bracha is physically short. That's why the second one starts with Baruch as well. But since the next bracha, the Yetzer HaAdam is long, it starts and ends with Baruch, so the next one says doesn't have to start with Baruch, which is why this bracha also doesn't start with Baruch either, right? So, be happy, loving friends, like your creator made you happy, you got eaten from before, on the Chava. Baruch atah Hashem, who makes the Chasan and Kala happy. Baruch atah. But you would say something else?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So that's a different gear. So thank you. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu Chaylam. So that's B'Samech Am Ber Yerushalayim. What's the shaychus of Samech Tzarei Mehuvim? That's how the bracha Samech finishes off.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Good. Thank you. Oh, heck, I think he says it over in the notes. Talk. Okay. Where are we up to here? Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu Chaylam. Asher bara sasav v'simcha, created happiness and joy. Chasam kala. Gila reads to the ched. Those are all different terms of joy. Ava achas shalom veis, love, brotherhood, peace and friendship. Hashem should quickly make us hear in the cities of Yehuda and in the outskirts of Yerushalayim. The sound of joy and happiness, sound of Chasam and Kala, because Mashiach will come. Kol Isha won't be necessarily as usher because not going to be her anymore. That's where Kol Kala is also. And the sound of Chasanim rejoicing from their chuppah, and the young people from their festivities. Baruch atah Hashem, B'Samech Chasim Makala. He makes the Chasim happy with the Kala. There's a beer in Chassidus how to differentiate B'Samech Chasim v'Chala and the Chasim Imakala. Hope you understand. I remember what is offhand. Okay, those are the 6 brachas that the Chasim has to say on the mitzvah of Nisuyin. Now nowadays the minig is because my Chasim might be Namaretz, so the Rav says it for the Chasim, but it's the Chasim's bracha. That's why Shabbat bracha is the same. Everything is saying every single bracha. The Chasim to talk to Chaim Yankel. He's being mighty in the bracha. He has to listen and pay attention, right? If there's any one over there. So that's interesting. The brachas for the chassan, the kalash. I mean, I guess she's the chef shamis over here, so she's. I mean, everyone says the kalash pay attention too. I don't know why though, because it's the chassan's. In Inyan, she could say it when she's sleeping. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I have no idea.
No, but Shabbat will make sure they listen.
Yeah, the chassan. The question is why the kala, but I guess she's part of it.
She should get the brachas. You should say, "Oh, man, the brachas." She's getting brachas too.
But the chiyah. This is a brachas shel mitzvah the chassan has to make, not the kala.
So you have a lot.
Yeah, fine. Okay. And the minig is not to. I don't know. You ever saw? I'm trying to think. I think by. But he's supposed to say all the time. It's his mitzvah. The minig is we say it for him, but that's not ideal. I mean, that's how it's done. But yeah, exactly. I mean, the reason you really why is about creator. Why don't everyone know Oliyah? Because maybe he doesn't know how to. So same thing over here. All right, Dalit. If you have any wine there, maybe bring for a cup of wine. Make a bracha on the wine. Tchila first. Then you make all the brachas on the cup of wine. Comes you have 7 brachas. Yesh come some places you know the havi hadas the bean and myrtle. Imayayin with the wine. They make a bracha on the hadas after the bracha on the wine because like by Havdalah because wine's more important. This is 6 brachas, so it's Shemaina brachas in those places. All right, hey.
What about the two first brachos? It doesn't mention the two.
That's for kedushin. We had that in the previous Perek. Yeah, this is for Nisuin. It's back in time. The time of the Gemara was a year later. Today it's all one shot. So you're supposed to make some sort of hefsek. So Rashi made a takana that between the Erisin and the Nisuin, you read the ksuba as a way of breaking up the two. You should get one.
The wine after the two.
But that's because it's two different mitzvahs. You have to have two different cups of wine, two different mitzvahs. You're not supposed to make one bracha on 2 cups of wine. It's a chiddush that we will bench on shal shudas and then use the same cup for Havdalah. It's a chiddush. You're not supposed to do that ideally, because you shouldn't make two cups of wine for one mitzvah. And Altam Shulchan Aruch says not to do that. We do it anyways in the Chabad. There's a reason why. I forgot the whole thing. All right. Anyway, hey, yeah, and by Yaknahaz, there's no way around it. There's a reason why. There's a whole pilpul. It's not shaykh otherwise. So, all right, sometimes it's not shaykh otherwise, but here it's a shaykh otherwise, so we don't do it. Hey, the aim of Orchim, you don't make the bracha for the chuppah unless you have 10 people there, a minion, who are free. The chasim counts. Why? So Pashtup Shad is a holy thing, and the Chazal said it should be dafke davish v'kedusha. But the Rambam writes that since no one's going to go and get married without making brachas, and since if they make the bracha, they have to have a minion, so no one's going to get married secretly, and people aren't going to sleep around and say we got married yesterday, no one was watching. They're going to make sure there's a minion there. It's public. That's how everyone will know. Vav Hamoris as Isha, someone who mekadosh a woman b'barach brachas chasanim, and then he makes the bracha. So he does the erisin, and then instead of doing he makes the bracha chasanim, but he doesn't actually go into the yichud room. Instead of going to yichud, they go to have to take pictures in his house. Adayin Arusi, she's still in Arusa. She ain't brachas chasanim b'yisa nisuin. It's the brachas are not what makes her into nesua. Fully what? Because going to the chuppah makes her in nesua. Or if he does erisin and go into the yichud room or to the house, the chuppah. Chuppah does not mean the canopy here; it means the proper his house. But he didn't say the brachas though. She's a complete nesua. He can make the bracha later, even some days later when he realizes he didn't make the mitzvah, because the word is just you can bracha your tefillin as long as you're wearing them still, because marriage is a continuous mitzvah. That's the pashtup shot. Yeah.
But we said before that the only thing that there has to be 10 people there.
Yeah, because the bracha mitzvahs the suyin to call a yom hashadov b'ishtay. It's a bach in Even Ezer.
For example,
one second, let's finish halacha. When it's also nida at tar, he should not do the suyin with a nida until she becomes pure. The aim of orchin la brichas chasanim ashitay. You shouldn't take the brachas of chasanim the brichas chasanim again. Also, unless she becomes tar, v'im over nasa barach. If he was over and he gave the suyin and he made the bracha, brought it to his house, einachan zvarchan say bracha again, because there are those who say that it makes the suyin gemura. So we will send the Chanat, even according to the Rambam, who says you can't do chuppahs neither.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's an necessary. You're not allowed to have a secular marriage. Everything is they do
the state. The marriage is
right
for
right. But there's a Rav there. He does okay.
Right.
There's 10 people standing there.
I have no idea. There should be.
No, but I'm saying that means the Rav doing the kedushin is not enough.
Yeah, you have to have a minion. I mean, you're married if you don't have a Rav there. But the chachamim
minus, and if you don't have, if let's say you only have the Rav,
no, you're still married. You don't see the bracha.
Right, you need aid. I mean, all that. Yeah,
because they always talk about a sort of atlonim have to be
okay.
Don't need the top people.
So wait, it's so you're saying?
I don't think generally.
Yeah, fine. I don't know.
I think you need aid.
He did to make it a marriage, but Chazal Masakin, you have to have a minion there. It's a chiyuv of a minion. If there's no minion and it's not shaykh, or if she's going to be taken by the parents because you have to kachasa quick, so fine. There's a way around it. But one of the chiyuvim is to have a minion. If you don't have no minion, you're still married. You are ever on the issue of doing the brachas without a proper minion. The brachas are not brachas l'matala though. All right, Zion.
The brachas can only be made with a minion.
Yes. It says you only say the bracha. Yeah, you only make the bracha.
We just said before the brachas of the chiyuv is on the chasim.
Right. When there's a minion.
When does it mean?
Yeah.
Zayin. So ksuba. Now, fine. Now let's talk about the ksuba. Now he has to write the ksuba before he takes her into the yichud room. He has to write first the ksuba. And only afterwards is he allowed to be with his wife, live with his wife. There's no ksuba, he's not allowed to. The chasim is chaya sefer, who pays for the writing and the printing and the designs. The chasim pays for that. The kambo kaisla, how much does he have to commit to her in the ksuba? Again, the ksuba is right. Basically, it's the obligation. He's writing that there's a few obligations, but the basic obligation is if the marriage is terminated, then either he passes away or he divorces her. He has to pay her a certain amount of money. How much does he have to commit himself? He can't do 50 cents. If she's her first time getting married, she never was with a person before. Or I'm sorry, if she was never lived with anyone else before, he can't do less than 200 dinar. If she lived with someone before, either married or unmarried, and in case in law then you'd only it has to be minimum of 100 dinar. That's the primary amount of the ksuba. If he wants to add even a kicker zav, which is a lot more money, he's allowed to. But there's a minimum and no maximum. What he chooses to add and the basic obligation, it's one thing. For most purposes, it's all the same halacha. There's very few things where you differentiate between them. Therefore, wherever he uses the term ksuba, the ksuba money, it's the full amount, whether it's 200 or anything plus that. The chum are the ones who institute the ksuba for the woman. The basic reason for ksuba is it shouldn't be so easy to divorce just because one day he woke up and he got in a bad mood or he found someone else he likes. It's going to cost him some money.
Right.
Therefore, he has to
Think about it.
think about it. Halacha ches. These dinarim are not, according to the Rambam, not pure silver dinarim. I think we don't pass it this way, but according to the Rambam, the dinarim are not pure silver. It's the dinar that was at that time. It was 7 parts silver, copper or bronze, and 1 part 1/8 was silver. So a sella, which is 4 zuz, has half a zuz of silver in it. So that's 1/8. So what's 1/8 of 200? So 200 dinar of basula, of her amount that goes to basula. 200 silver dinar is chamisha ve'esrim zuzin, is 25 zuzin. Shakasat tar of pure silver. How much is that in contemporary terms? It's about $2,000 or so. Hang on a second.
And that goes on pure silver.
I paid the ksuba. It's that $2,000, $2,500.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you want to go according to the strict value of what silver is.
Sorry, that's according to those who say it's 200 silver. This is a lot less. Right, so we'll pass this way. Yeah, this is 1/8 of that, which is $250 or something. Yeah, okay. Sorry, 1 second. And the 100 that he pays to bula is 2.5 zuzum. So that's what it comes out according to Rambam in silver. Mishkal kol zuz sheish. So now how much is that? Every zuz is 96 barley corns. As we said in the beginning of Hilchos Perek. So therefore, that is the cheshbon, how much a zuz is and how much silver you have to pay. The dinner is a zuz. It's synonymous. Ben shiyam and kesef atar, ben shiyam at be'er. So yamin, whether you're talking about a kesef, pure silver zuz, or that the point of that time, the term zuz and dinner are synonymous. So that's the basic amount you have to pay for a person, in order the person should not be, the man should not be so quick to divorce her. So why does she get money if he dies? It's not his choice. He shouldn't die. Next time, watch your cholesterol. What's so also because another reason is that she should have money to live and sustain herself. Test. You don't, and you're not allowed to reduce any amount less than 200 of basula and 100 for a person who was with somebody else before. So most chassidus that a shliach does for not from people, usually the ksuba is 100 zuz. That's a standard because you assume that people today in the world who went to college they've been with somebody before.
Why is it important to know? Finish.
If a person's mechayev himself any amount less than the basic amount, then not mamish up here din's nus, but it's promiscuous because Chazal said this is the amount you have to mechayev yourself, and you decided to live with her without that. Whether you wrote the ksuba down on paper in contract, or whether you did it verbally and you had 2 witnesses who remembered the yuf, it's like a verbal commitment. And they made him make a kinyan. In which case, once you make a kinyan to obligate yourself, the Eidim have the right to go write up a contract, even if you don't tell them to. So if he's chayav 100, 200, whatever the proper amount is, and he's a mutter, that moment forward, they're mutter. So for example, if you got the ksuba, it's in the other hall, whatever it is. What do? You have to write up a whole new one right then, dafka. I mean, according to Rambam anyway, you just make a kinyan, you owe it, and then you go to the chuppah and we'll write the ksuba later. Print it off the computer tonight or later. So similarly, if he just gives her 200 zuz worth of items, like a very expensive watch, let's say, he takes his chassid watch off and gives it to her for the ksuba, and they should hold it until he writes the ksuba. He's allowed to be with her and live with her until he has time to write it, because the point is that she has the commitment or the obligation. Exactly. Therefore, that's enough. Yud. Again, this is not halacha shit. This is what I'm saying. Okay, Yud. Want to say something?
Why are we careful before the chuppah starts to know if she's a psula or if she's not a psula? The Lashon in the Ksuba Sulta, it says.
So that's she's a psula. It's not psula doesn't say that. Ever by a wedding of a zivug sheni? Fine, I'll take your word for it. I have no idea. My uncle married zivug sheni. I wasn't paying attention. I don't think it says that. I think it says something else.
Oh, right. But I'm talking about, like you said, a shlich.
He doesn't write.
No, because he has.
Shalom puts it in their invitations.
What's that?
What? So the Shalom puts in the invitation of Psula.
Okay, because that's lashon chazal. That's lashon chazal. And if it's second time, they obviously don't write that. And if the both sides know that she had a year when she wasn't fired, she was with her boyfriend, they're not going to put it. They're going to put it anyways. It's not, even though they know it's not a holy thing invitation. So the reason they know is to know.
That it was important to
because you have to know what the ksuba is supposed to say. If it says 100,
or the amount of money.
No, I'm saying the ksuba has to, in the writing, the ksuba has to say with the Adam signature that he's mechayiv on the proper amount.
I think they're right.
No, because still he's mechayiv himself the right amount. He's mechayiv himself more. But the truth is, if he thinks she's a basula and she's not, then the whole thing is false pretenses. He can say the marriage is all. He can say.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that. That's a famous. Half of a second excuse is about that. We'll talk about that soon.
In today's world, they write the sulta.
Could be.
When it came to value of a shivcha, also was a difference if she's a psula or not. Because there's a value of a psula.
Yeah, because she's more valuable to give this evid. Yeah. Right.
There's also prenuptials.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money involved. Because if she's worth a couple of $100 million,
everybody knows.
Right.
You divorce her, you cannot get divorced anybody.
Right, exactly.
You know, that's it.
Right. Yud. Yud. Halacha Yud. I couldn't say if someone marries a woman, but the cost of the ksuba didn't write a ksuba. Or you wrote it. The ksuba got lost. This happens. People lose the ksuba. Right? You went upstate, you left it there. Now the ball and they burnt down. You don't have it anymore. She says, "I'm you don't owe me the money anymore." She sold it back to him. She's like, "Listen, I need some quick cash. Here's 20. Give me $20, and I'll sell you the chiyuv to the ksuba. You don't owe me anymore." He has to go now write a new ksuba for her. He must look he wants to keep her. A man is not allowed to live with his wife for one moment without being in a state where at any moment that he would pass away or hand her a get, he's chayav to give a ksuba. He always has to be in that state where if the marriage ends, he's mechuyev in a ksuba.
A lot of people
to somebody at least. 1 second.
They hang up the ksuba.
Yeah, the Rebbe says it's Ishus. Yeah, because it's a monetary contract. What are you hanging on the wall for? If she says to somebody else, hey, listen, I have $100,000 ksuba over here. If he dies or divorces me, this is what I'm going to get. Now I need the money quick. So you give me $50,000. Here's the ksuba. Now he owes it to you. So you might get nothing. If I die first, you're getting nothing. But if he dies first, you're getting $100,000. So it's
no 50. Only 50. I'm getting 50.
It's almost like an insurance policy.
No, but he's going to get from this guy $100,000. So in that case, the husband's fine. He doesn't have anything. What's the purpose of the ksuba? Primarily, he shouldn't easily divorce her. He has to pay some money. If he does divorce him, you have to pay somebody. Like you have to pay her. Except he pays somebody. The fact he loses the same amount of money. Therefore, that ikar reason is exactly as his chayvus. He has the deterrent. So therefore, that's
I'm not going to get rid of it.
Exactly. Right. So this is a raya. The main purpose of the ksuba is that he not be easy to divorce her. There's all the reasons that she should be able to have money to live, but the main reason is.
Quite a cheap divorce. So.
Those I gave an example. Even if it's 200 zoos, he could tell the rights.
Jeff Bezos.
All right. If someone is Erison Kaddish a woman, the cost of a ksuba, and he writes a ksuba for her, even though he doesn't have to. Yet he has to he writes it later. He writes the ksuba first. He doesn't yet do the chuppah yet. Like he writes the ksuba right away, get out of the way, and then whenever it happens, the chassid gets delayed. Let's say adayin arusa he in the suah. She said arusa not in the suah. She ain't ksuba is in the suyin. Writing a ksuba, the chayav ksuba doesn't create the suyin. It means that he's the chayav ksuba. Now, however, even though he wrote the ksuba for the purpose of doing the suyin, if he may say if he dies or divorces her, even though there's no suyin yet, there's only erusin, only kedushin. Gaiva ikka ksuba. She has the right thing. He has to pay her because she's mechayiv himself. Once she's mechayiv himself after kedushin, it's now that from this moment, if he divorces her, he has to pay the ksuba. But only from bnei chayrin according to the Rambam, meaning any property he has. If he promises to give her extra money, that's only in the event that he actually marries her. Right. He did not do the suyin. Oh, good. Because the schayvus of the ksuba is from the moment he writes it. Okay, good. Well, no, that's a whole. Yeah, right. He gives it, but he gives it over here and chayv over here. Yeah, so he didn't have to, but he chose to. He chayv himself. Now, b'nei chayr means he only from the property he has. If he only he has nothing. He sold property to someone else. She can't go and say, listen, he owed the money to me. Now I get to take him to you and go. You have to go. It's your problem. Like would be if he lent her money or if she lent him money. I mean, that's not the case. Only b'nei chayr. Only from. So in English, it's called. There's no lien. There's no lien on his property from her. Only from available assets. Right. Exactly. Not mechas mishpat, but only mechas mishpat. Avim aris isha. He kalish woman. The cost of a ksuba, he did not write a ksuba. Mason, he dies a gesher, he divorces her via Rusa while she's still in the Kudeshes, not yet a nesua. Ain la kluma fili ikush. She doesn't have anything. Even the basic obligation of 200. Shall I take like a ksuba? The primary, the takana of the basic obligation, it's only until he does a suyin, or if he chooses to write it earlier. That's when it starts. If he didn't write it, he didn't marry her. There's no reason to be mechayev. If someone marries off his daughter, and so the father marries off his daughter to somebody. The cost of la ksuba, and the guy writes a ksuba for her. It says amaris by you?
Yeah.
Good.
Right.
Okay.
The amaris writes a ksuba. So the husband writes a ksuba for the 6-year-old girl. The mason, then the husband dies. Or he divorces her while she's still not yet 12 and a half. Ksubas lavia, the father gets the ksuba. Like we said in Perek Gimel, that all the things that money she makes and the things she finds, any money that comes to her until she's 12 and a half goes to the father. This is an example of money that comes to her, so the father is chus. If someone marries a girl for the first time, he has to be happy with it for 7 days. He's not allowed to go to work. He's not allowed to do business in the marketplace. He eats and drinks and he eats and drinks and is merry. Yeah, that's how the expression goes. Whether it was his first time or a second time, it's irrelevant. If it's her first time, 7 days he has to be like cholamayid. He's not allowed to do any real work. He has to just to be misamech with his wife. If she was with somebody before, then 3 days only. That the Karsa Chamhi should live this saw she is Sameach Mabula Gimel Yamim. It says Basula by you?
Yeah. What did you say?
Says the Karsa Chamhi live this saw the Cham is talking about Jewish women. She is Sameach im Habula.
First it says she is Sameach Basula, then it says Mabula.
Okay, so hang on a second. So
Unless it says by you, Sameach im Habula Shleish Yom in Psula Shib Yom.
So can I see? No, it says by me. Shetarsa Chamhi lafnei saw she is Sameach im Habula Shleish Yom. That you have to make.
Okay, the same thing.
This is sorry. So that which means that they have to that the chasna has an obligation to be for 3 days, whether it's his first time or his 10th time. If it's her first time, there has to be
7 days.
it has to be 3 days with a girl who was her second time, and 7 days with the girl the first time. Here it says what? She doesn't make a okay, good. So by me, it's missing the words, the point that with the basura. Yeah, right. Fine, good. Therefore, that chiyuv. Good. So 3 days or 7 days. So, for example, if a person's zivuk sheni, if it's her zivuk sheni, so the chassan the shul for the first 3 days after the chuppah is tachon, but then the 4th day is tachon. For regular, usually it's 7 days. Here it's only 3 days in Gimel. Yesh leila.
To her, not to him.
Why?
If he's getting married for the first time.
So if he,
she's married the second time, then it's only 3.
so we, so I mean, again, our minig is lepoil, had a relative in this matziv. Even if it's her second time, if it's his first time, you do 7 days. The Rambam holds like that. The Rambam holds that if it's her second, if it goes after the woman,
Right.
man's not negaya. So we don't pass. We pass if either of them it's their first time, you do Sheva brachas. I have my mother's youngest brother, yeah, but he was his first time. Sheva brachas 7 days. The pasuk talk about it. That's the play that we do. It's confusing because there's only 1 day of Sheva brachas, but the 3 days of simcha. The art school Siddur made a big mistake about this, and Eli Zilbish from Ithaca wrote to them and told them Amaratzim, and they finally agreed in the second printing and changed it. That basically after the chuppah for 3 days, 72 hours, the chassan has to be misamech with his wife. You don't say tachon if he's in shul. But the Sheva brachas, saying the brachas, there's a meaning is only for the first day. In fact, if the chasana is before shkia or before it says, it's like the summer chasana where it's very late, and then by the time they come to bench for the chuppah, the chasana meal, it's at night. The whole Shabbat Sheva brachas haven't mentioned. The whole Shabbat Sheva brachas because now it's not. There is a shaila because it's a whole shaila.
They just said that we just have 7 days anyway.
If it's her second time, or if it's the both second time, let's say a case where they're both zivug sheni,
Yes.
and they get married on today in the afternoon, and then by the time they bench for the chasna meal, it's already at night. It's the next day. So therefore, can you say Sheva Brachas? So the simcha is 3 days. All right, Yud Beis. I'm sorry, Yud Gimel. Yesh lo adam lisla nashim ba'amis ka'achas. A person. Yesh lo adam lisla nashim ba'amis ka'achas. A person can marry multiple women at one time. B'yem echad on one day. Mevarach brichas chasanim l'chol ka'achas, and make the brichas chasanim for each one of the because to make one, he makes the bracha one time. He doesn't make it a separate time for each person. Yeah, that's what he says. Yeah, he makes one. Because he hits one chiyuv for him. So, however, each one deserves their own set of days where he's going to spend time with them, especially. In Basula Zayin, in Bula Gimel, whether it's 7 or 3 days, depending on her status. So this week he's with the first wife, next week with the second wife, and everyone deserves their own special week, or a set of 3 days. You dalit. A person. What? With Adam?
What do you have?
Boris, to betroth. He says Adam to do what? Adam? Okay, so here it says La'aris b'chayim. Good for the point is that a person can get married. Lisa, okay, good. A person can get married. Here it says La'aris, which means the kedushin, but you're saying the suyin as well. Fine, it makes more sense because the ikar is the ikar is in the suyin. A person is allowed to get married every day. Lachidal. A person can get married every weekday. I feel even Tisha B'av to do. So that's why it makes more sense when we say La'aris, kedushin. I'm not sure why your gears just sound a little funny to me. Can I see the inside over here? Dalit? No, I just want to say that. Okay. So the chayra, it means kedushin over here. Every day, even Tisha B'av, because it's just kedushin, it's not a simcha. Day or night. You do not make it married on a Friday. You go to the Rambam, even though nowadays we do. On Sunday. Why? Maybe he's busy preparing the meals, therefore into Shabbos will prepare the meal. It's going to be a Chil Shabbos, or you start preparing before Shabbos ends, and therefore it's going to be Chil Shabbos. So therefore, you don't get married on Friday or on a Sunday. The point of the meaning is nowadays to get married on a Friday. It was dafka done on Friday. Yeah. The Shulchan Aruch, that's what it says. In Shulchan Aruch it says, Yesh matirin v'chein pashat haminig lisa nashim b'erev Shabbos. V'hu she'atiach chusas ha'nesuyin she'yisham k'demish nesuyin. You have to start preparing for the wedding meal 3 days before. This way, we're not worried about you're going to start preparing on Shabbos. To try to have to suddenly make a new soup or something. You have everything ready before. So, probably not practical.
Fried people do it.
Yeah, it's not practical, Pasha.
And they start preparing. The caterers start preparing on Shabbos.
There's a whole based on the Chasam. There's a whole Ruchish Indian to get married on Erev Shabbos. It's like a big thing. Good, fine. The Ein Tzarech Leim B'Shabbos L'Yisisha B'Shabbos. Needless to say, you can't get married on Shabbos. And another problem with marriage is a kinyan. You can't make a kinyan on Shabbos. Even if you can do it with a shtar you went before, still it's a kinyan. I feel the choshim or the ring, and a ring is not mukta either, so it's still the problem. It's a kinyan. The mice with their Ramah one time was a chasna on Friday and they got delayed and they did chasna on Friday night. Okay. Yeah. It was a big deal, but the Ramah was able to. Now even cholamayid, which is less severe than Shabbos Yom you don't get married. As you said, if you should aim over simcha, that's because you shouldn't mix two simchas together. It says when the Lavan tells Yaakov, which halacha you know from Lavan, right? Lavan in Russia, that you have to finish this week for Leah, and then afterwards give you Rachel. You can't mix simchas together. Every other day of the year you can marry a woman anytime you want. Who provides again, as long as you prepare for the chasna 3 days prior. That's the issue if it's on Erev Shabbos. Good. Tezvav. The places where the best in only sits on Monday and Thursday, not other days of the week. But so, and this is BM Maria. I think it's in the first mission in Ksubas. I think this mission. Yeah. So the Bashul gets married on Wednesday. Why? If the husband says, "I think somebody got here before me," Yashkel Bezdin. The next day on Thursday, he go to the Bezdin. Right? Hey, the chum, it's true that if you marry a person for their second time, the woman's second time, the chas should be on Thursday. Chamishi, Shabbos for Shabbos. She rejoices with her Thursday, Friday, and Shabbos. And then on Sunday goes to work. Since you only said the Shabbat for one day, but the Simcha for 3 days, so you get married on a different day of the week. The next day, when there's no bracha, you're gonna start going back to work. So the Chacham said, no, get married on Thursday. This way, not go back to work Friday. It's already have Shabbos. You'll stay ready home. So you have Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, and then Sunday go back to work. This is what you have for 3 days. Good. Someone who marries off his daughter, he receives kedushin for his young daughter. And the husband says, "I want to marry her. I want to do Nisuyin," and she's only a minor. If she or her father could say, "No, let's wait till she becomes an adult." The assumption is you would do Nisuyin when she becomes an adult. She becomes a naira at least, right? 12 years old and physically mature. In regards to the konsa, if he wants to marry her, he could. In other words, if ultimately the father agrees, while she's a katana, then it's ultimately considered a valid marriage. That's not appropriate to do so, however. So even though the father wasn't, in other words, he can mekadesh the father against the father's will, but once she's mukadeshes, in theory, if he forces her into the sunyan, then she's a nasi. She's considered married, even though the father didn't agree. The father has to agree to the condition, but to the sunyan, the father doesn't have to agree. I mean, he has the right to protest, but technically speaking, if he does anyways, the decision is valid. Therefore, again, if he's a kohen and she passed away, he can be time for okay, it's fine. If he does ersin, Mishal Kamashan, Tav and the decision right now, he kadisher, and he waits some years, and he says to her, okay, let's get married now. And she's a naira already, she's already an adult. So how much time he said, I want to get married tomorrow. Tomorrow isn't too soon. He needs some time, right? You give her, what Dam's going to say basically is that you give her 12 months from when she became a naira, or 30 days from when he says let's get married, whichever one will give her more time. You give her 12 days from the 12 months, from the day where he says I want to get married. In order to prepare herself, to prepare what she needs. After she gets married. So what I just said is not correct. It's a correct begeres. Again, naira, you have to give her a minimum of 12 months from even if she's let's say 12. She's 12 and 4 months. You have to give her 12 more months. Even after 2 months, she becomes a begeres. You have to give her 12 more months until she's ready to get married. Wow. And only after, so she has time to prepare herself. Learn the halachas, prepare herself psychologically, whatever it means, Read
that she's ready to finish.
I'll give you an example. Whatever it is, but the fact is, she has the right to. She wants to get married tomorrow, fine. But she has the right to demand that he wait 12 months.
She has the right to
demand. If he says let's get married, she's ready to get her. She's ready 12 and a half, or she's 6 months post physical maturity, which is 12 and a half minimum. He give her 12 months from the day she became a begeres. So till she's 13, obviously. If they both agree to get married tomorrow, fine. Till she's 13 and a half, basically. The chaynim kid should be a beggar. If he gets the kaddish on the day she becomes a begeres, when she turns 12 and a half. You give her 12 months from the day that he's mekadosh, which is the day she becomes a begeres. What if he mekadosh after she becomes a begeres? So in other words, the day she becomes a begeres is the same as the previous 6 months. She gets 12 months from when he says let's do the student. Now, if she's already post begeres, she's already begeres. If she already had 12 months of begeres experience, she's already 13 and a half. After she kudashes, she only needs 30 days to get ready. If someone is mekadosh beula, you give her 30 days from when she requested when he requested to marry her. So if she's okay, Yudches. I'm sorry, 1 second. So after she's begeres, if she's ready for 12 months of begeres, you give her 30 days. If not, if she's already begeres, you give her 12 months. Thank you. If she's not a begeres, she gets 12 months. If she is already begeres, she gets 3 days. Yeah, right. Okay, good. So if she's a naira, not yet a begeres, she gets 12 months. If she's already begeres, she only gets 30 days. Good, fine. Because she's older already. She doesn't need to prepare.
So when she's 12 and a half, she only gets 30 days.
No.
If she's 12 and a half in one day, she gets 30 days.
No.
12 and a half.
Overall, she was already a begeres for a full year.
Yeah, that's what we said before. 13 and a half. You said that before.
13 and a half.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. Good.
At 13
Good.
and a half, she gets 30 days.
Oh, right. So the kasha is, what if she is 13 and 11 and a half months? Does she get 2 weeks and 30 days?
13 and what?
Let's say she's 13. She's
13,
13 not 13 and a half. She's 13, 5 months and 2 weeks. So she in 2 weeks, we'll say that if he asks her, let's get married, she gets 30 days. Because she's not yet 13 and a half, she only gets to the end of the 12 months, only 2 more weeks. So the chayra,
You gotta keep us matcha for 2 weeks.
no, the chayra,
That's all.
the chayra, you'll say that she gets till a year post by Geras or 30 days, whichever gives her more time. The chayra, that's the var. That's what I said before. Okay, I think so. Shame nations, mama isha mishtova about faras atzmach. Just like the woman gets time for when he asks her to marry him to prepare herself, and only afterwards he doesn't sue you. In kach nations, mama isha faras atzmach. The man gets time as well. Mishtova isha isha. When the man says let's get married, how much time you give him? Says give her even whatever the situation is. He doesn't have a right to say I need more time. It goes after her. Whatever time she gets, that's time he has. You can't say, but I need more time because me it's the first time, you it's your fourth time. That's not how it works. Whatever time she.
He's talking about making money.
No, the finance needs to prepare himself.
Not parnasa.
No.
The Rambam has a din that you really have no business looking for a shidduch unless you have parnasa.
That's something else. That's not a Rambam. It's a Gemara, but that's again. It says a person should first find a parnasa, then find a house, and then marry a woman. That's again. But there was a whole beer about that. Depends. That was at a time where people think today, if you come from YU, you have to have a medical degree and $1 million in the bank and 2 properties in the White Plains, and then you have to get married. Who says you have a job in Cannes, you stack the shelves, you have an apartment, you're not living on the thing, then you get married. So you have people twist Torah to meet their own ridiculous ideas. And say, have a job first. Go to college. Go to medical school. When you're 46, you get married, right? That's the thing. But and people who are yarmulkes with a straight face will say this to you.
No, you can work in a grocery store as a delivery boy. That's also parnasa. I'm just talking about.
Good. No, I'm saying, but people will take this Rambam and they not this Rambam.
Okay, you're right. They extend.
Yeah, you test. And the halal parnasa back then was people. You didn't have money.
Work in the field. That's it.
But good, people would you would starve. You didn't have what to eat. Today you'll starve. No such thing. Those were food stamps back then. There was ideas having a place, having a roof, and having some kind of income, or having some kind of a plan of some kind. Yeah. And Bechlal, the matziv of this financial matziv among Yidden is very different than it was back then. So a person was shy to be in kollel and learning, and it was a manageable life. Back then, you were kollel, you were learning. It was Mesiras Nefesh Mamish. It was pushing out what to eat. It was a whole other story. All right.
The finance over here doesn't mean parnasa.
No.
Okay.
If the time arrives, that time which they gave the man. He said, this is the time he's going to marry her. He agrees, fine, 12 months, 3 days. And he's like, yeah, I'm not ready. I'm still busy. This chayav, and as I said, at that moment, he have to pay for food. Now, the father says, listen, off my case. Now you have to pay for meals. Even they didn't actually do the same. If the time that arrives, it's Sunday, 12 months past. What date is it? It's Sunday. Shabbos, or it's Friday, which you can't get married anyways then. That day, she still has to be fed by the father. The father has to feed her. She can't marry anyways. He simply, if one of them becomes sick. The time comes, she's a nida, which you can't marry her. He doesn't have to provide food for her. He's anyways not able to marry her until she becomes tahara, or she becomes healthy. He becomes healthy. Also, he can't get married if he's sick. Therefore, up he did. He's only going to provide food for her when the day arrives. We theoretically could marry her.
These are the times of abject poverty. So the father says, you have to feed her. No, you have to feed her.
Right.
He had enough money for food.